smartest guys around are about to break it down like they won the game a million times.
Well, actually, they didn't really win the game at all.
Survivor know it all. Survivor know it all. Stephen Rock without a doubt got the game all figured out. They know it all.
Yeah, that's right. Survivor Know-It-Alls are back here. Stephen
Woo!
Fishbach for episode number 3 of Survivor Island of the Idols. And Stephen Fishbach, did you army crawl in tonight?
Is that the least useful Survivor skill? I mean, did you ever, I mean, clearly Sandra was just having some fun with Vince, but did you ever in your, whatever, like
50 days of Survivor play.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
50? You made it 11 days or whatever,
12.
or 12 days?
12,
wow.
yeah.
Didn't seem like it. You seemed like you were just barely there. But did you ever in your 50 days of Survivor play have to crawl on your belly or in any way?
I don't recall. I don't think that there was ever a challenge where there was like a log or anything. I never had to sneak anywhere into the other camp. We probably would have liked to, but no, we never had the opportunity in any of my Survivor playing time to do an army crawl.
Yeah, we will need to get into that because the utility of these lessons is like plummeting, as well as like the ease of getting the idol. Like Vince just had to get some ash from a dark camp.
So we'll talk about all that, but Vince, Stephen Fishbach, blindside for me. I did not see this coming when we were going to Tribal Council. I really thought it was going to be Karishma. I didn't think we saw enough about Tom, but I thought that of the 3 possibilities, I thought Vince was the least likely of the people that were talked about to go home.
I thought it was going to be Tom because I mean, like I agree we didn't see a lot of him, but just like based on the power dynamics that we were seeing in the tribe, you were presented this women's alliance that seemed pretty strong. The men seemed to be on the outs. We got a lot of shots of Tom, literally asleep, which didn't bode well last week. Although I mean, obviously, not the person who was sent home last week, but still a sign of a blindside about to happen. And then it was Vince, and of course, when you think about it, it makes sense. Especially just based on the timing of where we are in the game. It's day 8. It's the 3rd boot. I think all of the contestants now are probably thinking about a swap and what makes the most sense for the tribe in terms of a swap. But still, yeah, I was shocked too. It seemed like he was in with everybody, and it turned out he was in with nobody.
Okay, well, a lot to get to here tonight, and a lot coming up this week, including my exit interview with Vince. I will have that for you on Thursday. We're actually recording it a little later in the day. I imagine that maybe Vince has something going on in the morning, so it's going to be up a little bit later than it normally is. Look for that probably around like 5 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday after I get the opportunity to speak with Vince, and we've got a great week of podcasts. Steven, I'm going to talk with one of my favorites from last season. Ron Clark is going to join me on the podcast. So excited to hear what Mr. Clark has to say about all of this. And then another standout from the recent past, Lirsa is going to join me on the feedback show.
Oh, that's great. That's great. That's a great double header.
Yeah. So Lirsa should be a lot of fun as well on this week's feedback show recording this weekend. Plus, don't forget about the Wiggle Room. Plus, this week in Survivor, where Will from America is going to take me on in This Week in Survivor History quiz and much more. Plus, the B&B and why Vince lost, all coming up on the podcast. But Stephen, I have some exciting news to tell our listeners about at this hour. In fact, let me see. Do I have any? Give you the breaking news.
Breaking news are happening now.
All right, we have a quick announcement. Next week, Stephen Fishbach and I are going to be in New York City live at Caroline's Comedy Club on Broadway coming up. And that was a sold-out show. That one was really our patrons bought up all the tickets, and our listeners didn't have a shot. Patrons bought all the tickets for that show coming up on next Wednesday night. But I am very excited to announce that we will have a second Know-It-Alls show coming up on December 4th. We are going to be live from the Brea Improv in Brea, California, just north of Anaheim. We are going to be live on December 4th. Going to have a Survivor panel coming up in a couple of months from now, and we will be together once again on December 4th. And tickets are now on sale at robhasawebsite.com/Brea. That's BREA. If you want to join us in Southern California for an upcoming Know-It-Alls, our final Know-It-Alls live show of 2019. So excited to announce that, Stephen Fishbach.
The Brea-Dolls. We're going to be like acting like the donkeys we are.
the Brea-Dolls?
Because Brea, Bray is the sound a donkey makes.
Is it?
No? Yeah.
Are you sure?
Well, now I'm not. I was a second ago.
Bray,
like a donkey's bray. Yeah.
Is that onomatopoeia?
I mean, I assume so. Most animal call sounds are originated as onomatopoeia.
Okay.
I don't know. You try it. Try to make a donkey sound, and we can see if it's how close it is to a bray.
I mean, I feel like that the donkeys in Pinocchio, were those donkeys or jackasses in Pinocchio? Yeah.
Oh, this is. I mean, you're the one with kids. Yeah, it's brain.
No, you're reaching. Anyway, just one other thing on the Ron Clark show. We're going to record that a little earlier in the day on Thursday. So get your email questions in survivor@robhasawebsite.com or your voicemails. But Steven, I want to go back to Vince. And I really was curious of why the Women's Alliance decided to part ways with Vince when he seemed like a loyal number for that side, for those 5 women. Why not take a shot at Tom?
Yeah. And I really do think it comes back to this sense of, it's episode 3, episode 4 is soon. You're thinking about a swap and you want to go into a swap with cohesive numbers. And Elizabeth said it, she said that for everyone, Vince was the easiest boot. It wouldn't leave anyone behind really upset. And, especially with this danger that he has an idol, and he's obviously he's not one of the 5 women. They keep on saying like the 5 girls into Vince, but he's not part of the synchronized swimming sessions. And then, he himself was clearly not a part of like the bro-ish alliance. And he had a confessional about that. And it's funny, if you watch his eyes in that scene, like he cannot meet Aaron's gaze. If you compare like the way that he talks to Missy, where he's like looking her right in the eye and like talking to her and having like a normal human conversation versus the way he is with the guys, like he clearly doesn't fit in with them. And I'm sure they picked up on that. So I think it makes sense for the group if they really are thinking about a swap, and they probably are, like, let's do a cohesive move that sort of keeps everyone together and doesn't alienate this group. Because if they vote out Tom now, they're going to have a very angry Aaron and a very angry Dean, both of whom are very athletic competitors moving forward.
Yeah. So you throw those guys a bone and say, okay, fine, let's get rid of Vince because he's somebody that is not working with you, knowing that we're still keeping our core group of the 5 women together. And that's why if you go into a swap, then you don't have Dean or Aaron gunning for you if you happen to be one of the people that swaps with those guys.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think we missed this crucial scene in the episode, which is what happened when Vince came back from Island of the Idols. And I really felt like we were fundamentally lacking, what that dynamic was. Like, what did Vince say to make everyone feel better, about his being away? What did Vince say about having Idol? But like, really, most importantly, did Vince try to build a bond with Elizabeth? Like they had a shared secret. Like, how did that manifest itself? And so I would have thought, or maybe hoped, that there would have been like some jockeying on Elizabeth's part to keep Vince, but obviously she was more interested in keeping Tom, her like athlete friend. And so, yeah, I think like it makes sense for the tribe. Like, yes, we have a women's alliance. Like, yes, we have like this group of guys, but ultimately they are still a tribe. And I think they're probably making, at this point of the game, like the best tribal decision.
You know what was really confusing for me? The first episode, we really had it drilled in. Oh, the three workers. It's Vince, Tom, and Elaine. That's a thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's a thing. And then we had in this episode that Vince, we didn't really hear Tom throw Vince under the bus. It seemed like that Tom really wanted to have Karishma go, but it was Vince really driving home, hey, let's Tom, just give me, Karishma, give me a name. Come on, it's Tom. Get rid of Tom. And you didn't really see Elaine go to bat for Vince at any point in the episode. So what happened to the workers?
Yeah, we didn't see much of Elaine at all, actually, which I mean, great for Elaine, who was this big target in the first episode, such that we all thought, Elaine is done for. And now she wasn't a target at all, but we really didn't see, it really did seem like somehow Vince just got isolated from just about everybody. What happened there, Rob?
Yeah, I don't know what happened where it seemed like that just the nature of going to the Island of the Idols. I wonder if Vince's name had not been picked. I wonder if he would have been the person who ended up going home this week.
Yeah. I mean, we did see that he was sort of like, it seemed like the three guys were together too, which, I mean, Dean and Tom voted together against Ronnie, right? Aaron was the only one left out of that vote. So clearly there's been a little bit of tribal rearrangement, and maybe it is about this women's alliance, which, until this week seemed like kind of this covert thing, but now clearly it's much more out in the open.
So I just want to go back and revisit this decision because I'm with you 100% on the logic of why it ended up being Vince being the person who went home. But do you feel like, is that the sound move in terms of, yes, a swap is coming, and yes, now you go into a swap potentially with, okay, Aaron and Dean and Tom, or I guess Tom would be gone. Aaron and Dean aren't outwardly gunning for you, but is there more value in having a somewhat appeased Aaron and Dean moving forward as opposed to Vince, who seemed like he was going to really go to the mat, ready to army crawl with the women to the final six?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think you probably want to keep the most number of people happy at this point, like right at the point of the swap. And I imagine, like, if Vince had been a core alliance number for any of those people, maybe someone really would have pushed to keep him. And the person we saw pushing the most to keep him was Missy, right? Sorry, Missy. Oh my God. Yeah, Missy. Oh my God. I had like a Missy muffin.
You muffined it again?
I almost did. It's so ingrained in me.
Muffin thing?
Who's Muffin?
No, I'm so sorry, Missy. But she seemed to be the one who was actually like considering, let's keep Vince, let's involve him in our plans. Like, he's sort of one of this group. But it really, I mean, I think ultimately, yeah, like, I think like they have their five, the women, and like, letting go someone outside of that five, I do think it's worth it to like keep these other two, or other two, Aaron and Dean in this case, within closer within the fold, because losing an ally is much better than turning an ally into an enemy, like, right? Because that's like a -2 dip in your numbers. So,
but how much of an ally are Aaron and Dean ultimately? Like, how much are you guaranteed that those guys aren't going to try to flip against you anyway if they have the opportunity?
I mean, we saw Aaron certainly very mad at the previous, in the previous episode. We also saw Missy and Aaron having a very good relationship, yes. Right? We saw them like going out and like having a strategic conversation where Aaron was like really venting to her in a trusting way. I mean, I think that there are like strong lines of communication open there, and it makes sense. Dean voted with the majority on the last time. I was actually most interested, and I'm really curious about your take here about why the women let Karishma be the decoy boot.
Well, I'm very interested to talk about Karishma and what is going on here, because I'm very worried about Karishma. And I know that she was somebody who talked about how in the preseason that, her friends that she got to talk about Survivor with every week were us And so we have to figure out what's going on here. What's gone wrong here for Karishma?
Yeah, I mean, like I at the start of the episode, I was thinking like, oh, the island paranoia is getting to her. You know, I think everyone out there has this moment of, oh my God, they're all out to get me. I'm not fitting in. You know, nobody's my friend out here. And so at the beginning of the episode, I thought, oh wow, she's really letting that skew her perspective on things. But then she was the decoy boot. She still got three votes. And so I don't know. I mean, I was really conflicted about the hand injury too. You know, on the one hand, she just kind of, she sort of like nicked herself. And so I get why people were like, okay, she like kind of like has a small wound with a machete. Like she's, you know, calm down over there. But on the other hand, like she cut herself and she was, you know, bent over. And I don't know, how did you read that situation, Rob? Did
so
you think
awkward. It was so bizarre
Yeah.
because the thing about being on Survivor that I don't know if it translates to the people at home, you're so bored that just the act of blood coming out of Karishma's hand is the most excitement that you have the entire day. Why did everybody act like there was nothing happening? I mean, has she been injured many times before? And as she's sort of like the woman who cried wolf at this point, why was nobody looking at what was going on? If I was somewhere not on Survivor and somebody said, I think I can see the bone in my hand, I'd say, let me see. Let me see what's going on there.
Yeah. And that was my thought too. Like I felt like the only rational explanation for this would be if, you know, this is not the first time that Karishma has sustained a grievous injury. But it was so weird. You know, and I couldn't tell, like, is she behaving appropriately, like bending over and like raising her hands? And like, is this like the correct medical procedure or is this sort of,
you want to elevate it? I think I think that's the move. But
I don't know.
No doctors in the cast. I'm not sure if, you know, Survivor Medical. I mean, obviously Survivor Medical came and she had it bandaged, but she said that's when she knew that she seemed very focused to me, Stephen, on I'm not fitting in. I'm older. Yes. The other women are, they're all younger than me. It's she mentioned at the tribal council that it was like a sorority, which I don't think was so great to call that out. I'm wondering, Stephen, is this a self-fulfilling prophecy going on here for Karishma, where she's so focused on how she's not fitting in? I mean, I thought the stuff where she talked about how culturally this is so much different than what she's used to, I thought that was so interesting, and I love hearing about that in the confessional, but to call it out how she's not fitting in with the group, I think was a mistake.
Yeah, I agree. And the age thing too, like there's two older people on that tribe, right? So, I don't know how if she's the second or the third oldest. So it did seem
the
weird
women,
to yes. Yeah. So it did seem weird to like be.
No, I think probably no. Elaine is older than Karishma.
Yeah, I think Charlene is actually pretty close to the same age. Yeah, but I
think
don't.
Elaine's in her mid 40s, and I think Karishma is in her late 30s.
Okay, well, I would trust you on this one more than me. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. You know, it's one thing to feel that way. I think, you know, everyone out there does feel that way. But as soon as you're saying it, and you know, she wasn't necessarily blaming the other women for the difference, but she was really calling attention to it as a way of creating distance between them. And, you know, even if the other women were feeling that distance, when she's articulating it in the at tribal council, like that's going to create a wedge, because suddenly it's this thing that's been stated, it's been talked about, you know, they are going to go back and be like, man, that was so weird. Like, you know, that Karishma said that, like, you know, even if they try to make a conscious effort to include her more, they're still going to always have that feeling of like, Karishma is on the outs from us.
So then Karishma starts getting up and walking around and scrambling at the tribal council, and that's always exciting to see. But at first I was like, oh, okay, maybe is this all part of a plot to try to get Vince to flush the idol? Is there some talk? But I'm like, whoa, hold on. Karishma said earlier in the episode, hey, if Vince has an idol, this could be the reason why I go home. So actually, Vince playing an idol would be the worst thing that could happen to Karishma. So I think that was especially bad for her to get up and walk around at the tribal council, because do you think that is the act of getting up at tribal council making Vince more likely or less likely likely to play? Does it look like, oh, okay, well, Karishma's floundering now, so no need to play my idol? Because I think it would make him want to play his idol.
Yes, exactly. And in general,
and she would have gone home had he played his idol.
Yeah, because she had the second most votes. In general, it didn't. I mean, I think we really need to see. We need to hear what she was thinking and what she was trying to achieve by that. I really like Karishma as a character. I also thought it was really funny, that Tom just sort of was like, "This is all nonsense. This is all theater."
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think we've all been waiting for that moment. Now in the post JT era of Survivor, where everyone gets up at every tribal council, to create drama and like be a part of a tribal council moment. It was kind of funny that Tom's like, "This is."
But even was Tom saying that? Did he know what the plan was? Hey, the women are voting for Vince, and then we're voting for Karishma. So that he didn't want Vince to play the idol, or that he should have said, "Oh, I think something's up." That he wanted Karishma to go home. It's so interesting because what is subterfuge? What is honesty at these tribal councils?
Oh yeah, exactly. Like how much, Tom seems like a pretty straight shooter, right? Like he seems, I don't know like how many like plans within plans Tom has got going on here in terms of like, and he also, I think would have been fine with Karishma going home. Right?
Well,
like,
that's what I'm saying. I think that's what he would have wanted is for Karishma to go home. What he should have said is like, something's up, boy. Looks like Karishma's really changing things up. I'd definitely play an idol tonight if I had one.
Yeah, exactly. But why do you think the women were okay with putting her as the decoy boot instead of Tom?
So I think that Karishma is certainly reading it correctly, that she is fifth on the totem pole of the five women. But I think that if we're reading this correctly, that the men were just happy to like, okay, here Aaron, here Tom, here Dean, we're throwing you guys a bone tonight. Of yeah, sure, okay, let's split the votes. Dean, you want to split the votes so bad between Karishma and Vince.
That was a great moment. That was
that
hilarious.
Let's talk about that. Deserves its own thing. Yeah. So I think that they threw her out there because if you're trying to appease those guys, what are you going to do? Say, okay, we're going to put you guys put your votes on Dean.
Yeah, exactly. So you're right. Like it has to be just them appeasing, but like appeasing the men at the, expense of alienating someone who is part of their alliance. Yeah. And, in a really, they really did hang her out to dry. Like there was a chance that Vince could play his idol. It was only active for two tribal councils. Let's talk about that. Obviously it was a mistake for Vince not to play his idol here. Yeah. And especially because it was only good for one more tribal. Like, why not? Why do you think Vince didn't play it?
Yeah, it's a really great point. We've seen so many survivors over the years go home with the idols, and especially these ones that are short-term idols. And I guess in your head, you think about, well, I don't need it tonight. But the next tribal council, I'm probably going to need it. And we have these scenarios here where they might not even go to tribal council here this next time out. So you end up left with you didn't have any chance to use it. So, yeah, I think that we're sort of like rewriting the book right now, not the Boston Rob rule book, but the actual...
I love that you have that in your hand.
I'm referring to it on the regular on these podcasts, Stephen. But I would say that, yeah, I'm starting to think that, an idol in the hand is worth more in the bush? I'm not sure. Play it. Play your idol if you have it.
I think so. I think people are so, focused on holding it to like the optimal moment, and it just makes so much more sense to play it. Moment. There's no optimal moment. Playing it when you don't need to is so much better than not playing it when you do need to. And like it decreases your threat. Like that's the thing that I think is the most important, is that when you do something like you go to Island of the Idols, everyone is suspicious of you until you play the thing. And so you've got to just get out of your hands.
Stephen, look at you with having the advantage that
hey, I'm a changed man. I wish I had like day one, like played that, like thrown it into the fire the next day,
Yeah.
Pulled a Cesternino and ripped off all my clothes and thrown them in the fire.
I didn't even actually do that yet. I just talked about doing it.
In our minds you did. Yeah.
So I think that this is a good point. I wonder how much we're going to see this. Is the person that goes to the Island of the Idols going to be a target immediately? And will we see people, if you have an advantage, do you need to come back and play it immediately to try to reduce that threat level?
Yeah, I think especially if there's any heat on you at all, it really just pays to do it. In certain cases, right? If like no one, it's just like it's one of these things where it's like if your reads are right, then you look awesome. It's like it was like with Kelly and Lauren last season, where every episode, as they didn't play their idols, we were like, oh my God, they have such courage, such like boldness, such like incredible reads. And then the one time that they were wrong, we were, invalidated all the great decisions before.
Okay. So, Stephen, let's real quick touch on Dean, and then we'll talk Island of the Idols. He didn't get voted out, but a goof for the highlight reel for Dean tonight after all of the tribe was together, and he throws out, "Hey, we got to split the vote tonight."
Literally everybody else is there thinking like, okay, like who does he mean to split that on? I need to rewatch it, but did they do a close-up of Karishma in that was it already assumed at that point that she was the decoy boot?
I'm not sure. I think that Chelsea was the person, but everybody's here.
Yeah, exactly. It was great that he also owned it. He acknowledged it after the fact. Like, I really enjoyed his sort of self-mocking confessional afterwards.
Right, but what did you think about him, would you say ironically or unironically, then quoting himself, then trying to make it into a thing at the tribal council? Was that,
as a great man once said, or what did he say? Split the votes. I mean, I think at that point he's still mocking himself, right? I think he's sort of just like, he's probably replayed that tiny slip up a billion times in the day since this happened, right? It's just like in his mind, like that's what his game is going to be reduced to. So I'm sure for him, it's just like he can't get away from that moment.
Okay. Stephen, I want to talk about the Island of the Idols, and we had Vince get the opportunity to go visit Rob and Sandra, and this week's lesson was stay cool under pressure.
Classic, as we, and the best way to do that, of course, is to break into the other camp and steal fire, because what more high pressure situation is there than going into a pitch black place at night while everyone is asleep?
Yeah. I thought this was really fun. I really did enjoy this. And what I'm enjoying about the Island of the Idols is so far I think they're 3 for 3 on no reward challenge and Island of the Idols.
Yeah.
And I thought that this was a great episode for this format where we get to see something we've never seen before with Vince on the Island of the Idols, and then the challenge team gets one challenge to completely knock it out of the ballpark. And they did. They had an incredible challenge. So use your resources. Give us one spectacular challenge for the immunity, and then let us see something rather than, have two recycled challenges a week. Give us one challenge and go ham on that one challenge, John Kierhofer and your team, and then give us a spectacular immunity challenge, and then let's see something unpredictable on the Island of the Idols.
Yeah, I do agree with you that it was really fun. Like, it was really fun how just like it was like out of a different show, and I don't mean that in a good way or a bad way, but it was really like, it was just like him sneaking into the camp. I mean, and like the nightmare that woke someone up. I mean, it was just like the whole thing was so fun and kind of like goofy, like in a really fun way.
So I'm telling you that I have to go back and watch this again, but Boston Rob says in setting it up, he's like, so you need to go and steal the fire or bring us back some other evidence that you were there. Like that bring us back some other evidence that you were there. Like, I'm going to guess definitely thrown in after the fact.
Well, because you're right. He at the time was like, I need to bring back some sort of evidence. It's rain, like the rain thing probably really like screwed with everyone.
Well, what is this? Going to go kill the Wicked Witch of the West? We need some evidence that this happened. Otherwise, we can't take you at your word.
Yeah, it would have been cool. I mean, it really is too bad that the rain killed the fire, because it would have been great to have that little like bobbing, glowing light kind of like racing down toward it. That would have been a great shot. So whoever conceived this mission,
it was a great idea. It was a great idea.
Yeah.
How funny was Sandra on the Island of the Idols? Because you could tell that Rob thought that this was overkill. I mean, there's one moment where she's standing behind like a giant palm frond. Like, what is she teaching him in that moment? Like, okay, okay, I'm going to show you something. This is a leaf. I'm going to be standing behind it, okay? You see, you can't see me that good because I'm hiding behind a leaf.
It was like she was invisible. It was amazing.
You have to, if you, this will look like just like a giant leaf is walking down the beach, not a person.
Listen, they have like 30 minutes of play in 3 days of boredom. Like I'm so happy that they're making the most of it.
It was great. And Sandra, I think, loved Vince. I think Sandra really looked at Vince. I think that was her favorite player on the season.
Yeah. The that moment where Vince broke down. It was kind of fun. Like, did you break down the first time you met Boston Rob? Was that a similar experience?
No, I met down at a different point in my relationship with Boston Rob. It was not at the first meeting with Boston Rob. It was sometime later. But it was really funny because he gets there and then he's like, Boston Rob's like, "Hey, where you from?" And Vince is getting choked up, and Boston Rob's like, "So you don't know where you're from?" It's great. I'm enjoying this.
Such a soft touch. Such a soft touch.
It's really fun. But I thought that, and we haven't really said this, I thought that Vince was really great also. I think that he was the player that I think that most identified with Sandra, and that I thought that Sandra and him were really kindred spirits, and he had so many great lines in this episode.
Oh yeah, he was a great character. Like he's definitely bring back for the pre-merge season.
Yeah, he was really great, and the immunity idol in the water bottle was another amazing move.
Oh man,
I mean, this cast,
it's really too bad.
Has come to play.
Should have done it just for that. Guarantee your spot on the returning season just by doing the water bottle idol.
So what do you think that Vince's move was, where he was going to go up there? He's like, got to pour one out for my homie, Karishma, who's going home right now, and then dump out the water bottle. That would have been amazing.
Yeah. He could have done it like a Gatorade like thing on Jeff.
So many different ways that he could have done that. It was cool the way that he did it in the final words. That was really memorable. So really excited to talk to Vince tomorrow about everything that was going on. All right, Stephen, I guess real quick, let's just touch over on Vokai. What's going on here? A lot of moving parts okay, Dan says, okay, let's get rid of Nora, goes to Jamal. Jamal says, nah, let's get rid of Dan. Jamal talks to Janet and who talks to Tommy, and they say, well, maybe we should get rid of Jamal.
Yeah, it was crazy how quickly it moved. It's like literally every time someone said, let's get rid of this person, then it just flipped back onto that person. And I think it's just a snapshot of that tribe, but it really is different, to see how quickly the politics on that tribe are reforming themselves moment to moment versus on Lero, where you've got kind of big groups that seem to be largely sticking together.
Who do you think that it bodes better for moving forward? Do you think that it looks like that Lero is going to, with their alliances, that they are primed to be able to take advantage of this?
I don't know. That's a good question. I honestly feel like often being the faster moving tribe is a good thing, but then also going to tribal council more is also a good thing. I mean, to me, I think Vokai has got probably the most game happening, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. What's your take? If you were to put money on a tribe, right now?
I think that Lero seems like they have their act together more so than Vokai.
Do you think we're going to get a Lero winner? And are you willing to put the title of Knowingest Know-It-All on it? Because I'll take Vokai.
Okay, sure.
I mean, all right.
Great.
Okay.
Sure. I'll take that.
I think Lero has some good people. I think, Missy, great on Lero. Chelsea, a lot of people have talked about her as a winner possibility. Mm-hmm. I think Elizabeth too. Tommy's such a big strategic force.
If you're giving me a coin flip chance to be the knowingest know-it-all, I'm going to take it.
I just want the action. I want the heat.
Yeah, well, you got it. Well, steal the heat with this torch and army crawl away because you got it. All right,
this is really the best. That was so good. It's very the best.
We're gonna get into some of your questions here in just a moment, but let me take a moment and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. You heard us talk about it last week, Honey. Head on over to joinhoney.com/RHAP to get the Honey browser extension, where you don't need to negotiate like you're on the Island of the Idols with Boston Rob. Honey is going to do it for you, Stephen, because it's the browser plugin that's going to look up all of the coupon codes and discounts that are available to save you money when you're shopping online. You don't need to be
Wow.
the knowingest know-it-all of online commerce. You don't need to be like Sandra cutting out coupons left and right. Honey is going to do it for you when you shop online because it is going to save you time and money because it's going to know about every coupon code, sale, or discount at over 20,000 sites like Amazon, Macy's, J.Crew, even Domino's, Sephora, Target, and more. I use it all the time, and it tells me whenever there is a discount code. It tells you on Amazon when prices are trending up or trending down, when it's the right time to buy, and more. Over on Honey, it's found 10 million users, over $1 billion in savings, Stephen.
You're a guy who doesn't like reward challenges, and it sounds like you can get a lot of rewards
There you
without
go.
any challenges.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it.
Okay.
All right. Listen, there's no reason not to use Honey. It's free to use and installs on your computer in just 2 clicks. Get Honey for free over at joinhoney.com/RHAP. That's joinhoney.com/RHAP. Stephen, what do you think about the fish puzzle? Were you happy?
I loved it.
Were they thinking of you? Did they throw you a fish bone with this?
I assume so. I think it was basically it was a Fishbach, right? That they made.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a big Fishbach.
That's good.
So,
and look, people are getting upset with Karishma that it seems like that they're throwing the puzzle makers under the bus. But once again, I will stand up for Karishma and say Dean was on the puzzle too. You know?
yeah. Why did Dean get no heat from that? But like everyone blamed Karishma.
Blame Karishma. Don't blame the guy who says, "Hey, let's split the vote with the entire tribe around." It's all Karishma's fault. Okay.
I also want to talk about like, don't the Island of the Idols challenges? Speaking of challenges, they're just getting like absurdly easy, right? Like so unfair to Elizabeth. Like beat Boston Rob in fire making versus like steal ash in the pit, like in pitch black, steal ash in the daylight. That would have been a challenge.
That would be a challenge. You'd have to like cover yourself in the ash, and then
he would have needed those fronds that Sandra was using.
Yeah, that would have been perfect. Like when Sandra was like, "I wish I could go with him," and Boston Rob's like, "Why? What are you gonna do?"
They're just so bored. They just want to do something.
They want to do something. They want the action too, like Stephen Fishbach.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Haley Strong says, "I'm over the tribal whispering." Stephen, are you over tribal whispering?
I do think, I think now that it's so clearly people are using it at any moment.
Yeah.
You know, I think it is time to
And
retire
these
tribal
guys
whispering.
didn't even see the tribal council that was from the Edge of Extinction, where Julie jumped ship, and then the one where Julia got voted out. They didn't even see that one.
People need to speak full voice. Like
Pilots
let's
and passengers.
let people.
They don't even know about that.
Yeah. You know, I mean, they also. I mean, it's again like obviously JT.
Yeah,
has
well, that's
had
what
it-
Paige has to say. This, are you guys as tired as I am of people getting up at tribal council? I forever blame JT. All right, now
Let's forever thank JT for some amazing Survivor moments.
okay. How about this, Stephen? Okay, well, I guess let's put our producer hat on. Do we like it when people are getting? It's always exciting. It's always like the music swells.
Yeah, I mean, as people watching the show, as people talking about the show, I agree it would be a lot more boring if no one ever did anything to mix things up at tribal, and it was always just this tense, you know, stony standoff between all the different contestants. What about if they just showed us what people were saying? I mean, that's the thing that drives me crazy is like, I just feel cut off from the show at that point, you know, like, cause I know things are happening, but I have no idea what those things are other than like chaos is happening on screen.
What do you think that Karishma said in this episode? Do you think she went up to the women and was like, okay, it's still vote for Vince, right?
Maybe she tried to get it on Tom. Maybe she was like, screw this. Like Tom is like, you know,
Sure, we
all
can't
about the
vote for Tom.
challenges.
Like, is there any chance? And they were like, not gonna.
That was the only thought I had. Just like maybe it was, you know, she was trying to switch it up to turn it on to Tom, and Tom was not having it.
Okay. All right. That makes as much sense as anything else we've got so far. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What about this question from Becca?
All right. Becca wants to know, why did the ladies switch to voting out Vince when he would have been a number for them? Vince voted for Tom.
Yeah. We think that it's because of the merge coming up. That's what Stephen Fishbach and I are in agreement on. Okay. This is a great question from our own Jessica Lewis. Why is Vince smelling his fingers? Did you see this? There's one point in the episode where Vince is, and he's smelling his fingers and seems disgusted by how they smell.
Yeah. Ever since he went to the Island of the Idols and like dug in the ash, maybe it's like the telltale heart or something. It's like he can never get, or like it's like Macbeth, right? With like she can never wash off the spot
Out
of blood.
spot,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, like out damn smell.
because he touched the ash from the other tribe, he's like, I feel so dirty.
No, it forever polluted him because they all suspect him from now on as having an idol. He can never get off the stain of having been to the Island of the Idols.
Yeah, we're not sure. We don't know, but
I thought that was pretty good.
I do think that it could end up in our power rankings for GIF of the season. Okay, here is could knock the clam or Nora's crazy eyes out of the top two. All right, Steve, what do you think about Brandon?
All right, Brandon Bridges says Boston Rob and Sandra Diaz Twine are too good. Vince shouldn't have been so calm. Well, I actually gave the fishy to Rob and Sandra because they taught Vince to be calm. And as a result of his calmness, he did not play his idol and he went home. So Rob and Sandra are responsible for Vince going home.
Yeah, here's a tweet from Dan Kilby. The look of, oh, crap. We didn't help him at all. We got him voted out.
Well, I mean, that's, like the stench, Rob.
Yep. This is fun. I think this is fun. Rob and Sandra give people advice and they get voted out.
Should Rob and Sandra just have like a permanent, like regardless of whether there's an Island of Idols in the future, just like a permanent little booth at tribal councils?
At all future tribal councils.
Yeah, like the Statler and Waldorf of Survivor moving forward.
Well, what do you want to see? Their reactions to stuff?
Yeah, it's just fun seeing their reactions. Like, it's not a big part of the episode, but it's fun.
It's fun. They didn't say anything too funny this time around.
Yeah,
but it's been fun. I've enjoyed having them around. It has not hurt the season in any way for me so far.
Yeah. All right. TJ Cliffy wants to know, during the crapshoot part of every challenge, if you're on the chopping block, is it a better strategy to try at the puzzle and possibly fail, or hide in the back and not be involved?
Well, how is the puzzle a crapshoot?
I think it's like more of like a catch-up moment, right? It's like all challenges basically come down to the puzzle. So I think the question is like, do you want to be the person who puts themselves forward on the puzzle and risk failing? Or do you want to be the person who's just like nothing to do with it? I am definitely in the latter category. I am the nothing to do with it person.
Yeah. If you're somebody who is not an asset in the challenges, though, and this is a chance to sort of like earn your worth, then, I'd say do the puzzle, but then everybody starts to say, oh, we got to vote out this person that's too smart. So, yeah, I do agree with you, Stephen. I think that the optimal place to be is not involved, not a key person in any part of the challenge.
Yeah, but you also can't shirk too much. I actually got called out on shirking and token sheens. People noticed that I never
big shirker. Well, Wanda shirk.
I was a big shirker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to like seem like you're participating, even if you don't actually participate.
Yeah. I think an ideal place to be might be on the puzzle, but not sort of like the head honcho on the puzzle.
Yeah, you want to be. Yeah, I think a backup puzzle is great.
You're grabbing pieces. You're holding them. Hey, how about this one? Yeah.
Yeah,
but you're not the person who's like physically putting them into the puzzle.
Yeah, or just like be on the mat and like just like be really vigorously yelling, so it seems like you're saying interesting things. If you're like yelling and like waving your limbs a lot, like people are going to think like, oh, he was really helping out a lot during that puzzle, even if you're not saying anything useful.
Yeah. Okay. This is a question.
So just yell and wave your limbs is always a good Survivor strategy.
Yeah, like the thing that like the balloon arm guy.
Exactly.
That's perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Dylan wants to know, did Karishma really stab herself in the hand with that challenge performance? Hey-oh. Okay. All right. What else we got, Scott? Okay. Stephen Johnson.
Stephen Johnson. The great Stephen Johnson wants to know, is sneaking into the other tribe's camp really the best way to teach keeping your cool under pressure? Are they already out of ideas? So what do you think other ways to teach keeping cool under pressure would be, Rob?
I mean, were you not entertained? Well, what's the problem here? That this does not actually apply to Survivor, that we're coming up with sort of like wacky scavenger hunt ideas for people to do? That's the issue?
I think that is the issue. I think that's literally exactly the issue.
Who cares? Was it fun or not? That's really what it comes to. What if it was bad and boring and had nothing to do with it? I see your point, but I thought that this was fun.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was fun. You know, I'm still invested in the idea of Survivor as a game. And like, I want these to be like useful game skills that these people are learning. Like, I think that's a really cool concept. And I separately think this was a really fun segment. I also sort of wish that they were like, that the needle was threaded a little bit more.
In terms of the production, or
Like how it actually applies to the game of Survivor, you know, like it, I mean, it feels, I hear you. It's like, I agree. It's super fun segment. I loved watching it. It was really great. It was something totally new, but like, you know, like it's a cool idea to have these two legends of the game teaching like real skills to the new players. But like, you know, I want it to be like, oh, that's, and even last week, I kind of like, I felt like with Kelly, you know, that delivered on it. It was like, oh, you're really teaching people to always be listening. And, you know, that's a useful skill for any new Survivor contestant.
Mm-hmm.
Making fire, you know, learning how to make fire from Boston Rob and Sandra. Like, how cool for Elizabeth. Again, like, this is a little bit different. I thought it was really fun, but I didn't think it was necessarily like the most game relevant skill.
Okay, well, let's see where they go from here. As long as it's entertaining, I'm fine with whatever they want to do.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I think that's like a point of contention, right? I think that's where the disagreement is. It's like, is more fun TV stuff like good, or is it like more like pure game stuff good? And I just think people have different opinions on it.
Okay. What about Granddaddy Taryn?
Granddaddy Taryn wants to know, why did the Girls Alliance not vote off Aaron? He was already on the outs in the first vote. They are losing challenges because of puzzles, and he is a bro's bro.
Yeah, exactly. They're losing challenges because of the puzzles. So Aaron is actually delivering in the challenges. So I think that Missy looks at Aaron as somebody who is a number for her and wasn't somebody that she was targeting.
Yeah, exactly. And I also think that, I mean, Aaron was the one person on the outs, but it does seem like Missy and Aaron have a real relationship. And, you know, voting out Aaron would do basically the same thing as voting out Tom. It would just leave two people who were really annoyed at you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Stephen, I didn't really make this comparison, but I thought that Karishma and Vince together in this episode, it was almost that Karishma was overly paranoid and Vince was underly paranoid and seemed annoyed at Karishma for being paranoid.
That was such an interesting conversation. I'm glad you brought it up because it was sort of funny. I mean, I was thinking after the fact, like, so Vince kept on saying to Karishma, just give me a name, just give me a name. And Karishma's, you know, kind of like hedged. It was like, I just want people to play the game. Like, in any other situation, we'd be saying, oh, obviously she's voting for you, right? Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, did you think of that was the rationale at all? Or did you just think she was incapable of giving him a name? Like, if someone's not giving you a name, that's because you're the person they're voting
that's
for.
A great point. I didn't even think of it that way. Of the reason why she couldn't give him a name was because that the women were going to be voting for Vince. But why did he need a name from Karishma so badly?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that was strange too. It was really like, it was a strange conversation all around.
He's just in full Sandra mode of like, anybody but me, just tell me who to vote for and I'm going to vote for them tonight. But he seemed like really annoyed at the way that Karishma was playing the game.
Well, and it was interesting too, like conversely, when Missy asked him for a name, like he was like, Tom. You know, he didn't even hesitate for a moment.
Yeah.
So like, I think it's just like, this is his perspective of how to play the game. You kind of like try to get your plans through however you can. And, you know, she's obviously she's taking a much more passive role, right? And kind of pushing her own agenda. Worked out for her tonight.
Okay. All right. A couple more questions. This is from Anne. How much is that split the vote comment going to haunt Dean in a future merge or swap? Stephen, tell me if this is a hot take or not. I think it helps him.
Oh, yeah, is this foreshadowing? Do you think it's a foreshadowing that he said this?
I'm not sure. What do you think, that he's going to be part of a split vote or get done in by a split vote?
Maybe get done in by a split vote.
I don't know. My philosophy on Survivor, and I've really come around to that the best thing that you can do on Survivor is be a dum-dum. I think that being dumb is the new being smart. I think that people say, oh, Dean, bless his heart, we're not voting out Dean. Keep him around. Yeah. He's not a threat.
It's like the Keith Nail strategy.
Yes.
He sort of like aggressively plays up his hokiness as a way of completely removing the threat from him.
Oh, Vince, he seems like he could be up to something. He could have an idol. He could be good at the game. Vote him out.
Yeah. Right. Or with Jason last week, right? Where it's like everyone's like, oh, he's the nerdy one. He must be off scrambling. I think you're right. Cochran really ruined it for the smart players. Like everyone thinks that there's a new Cochran about to,
Yeah.
take charge of the game.
So I think that the move for a Survivor player to make is to be sort of, a PhD, you're a genius, but then you go in and you play Spicoli. You do your Seabass impression, and then you play the whole game as guys, I don't even know what's going on out here, what's happening, and then that's how you end up winning. Actually,
that was Devin.
Yeah, but at the end, you have to get to the end, and then you have to say, like, guys, I knew what was going on the whole time.
We had a dream that Mama Kay, Sandy Bergen,
night terror?
Yeah, we had a night terror that Sandy Bergen in Token Sheens, Mama Kay, was going to reveal at the final tribal council that she was this like posh British lady, that she was like Mary Kay, but like my dream is for someone to like pull that off.
Yeah,
exactly. I hope it happens. I really think Devin, like if Devin had gotten to the end, and that would have been the greatest reveal of all time, that he was playing up the Surfer Bro thing. We were so close. We were so close to that. But I hope it happens in my life.
One more question, Scott, with Steven, and then we'll wrap things up. Okay, Steven, Ian will have the last word.
Ian wants to know, what were the consequences if Vince got caught? He couldn't have just strolled in and said, don't mind me, I just need some fire or ashes. Thanks. Okay, bye.
Yeah, that would have been funny if like, hey, what are you doing here? Nothing. We needed fire. Yeah, I just wanted to get fire. What would they have done? Shoot, get out of here. Get out of here. You get out of here.
Yeah. His game would have been so completely. I mean, look, it's a long shot, right? It's so pitch black at night. You really can't see anything. In fact, the fact that Vince was able to see anything at all, I was like most impressed by that he was even able to get close to the fire pit. But yeah, that would have been a hilarious moment. It's really too bad.
What would his cover story have been? I'm just production.
Maybe you could say he got lost. It could be like a cowboy thing, right? Like, oh, I just came over,
dropped a camera.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about what's coming up here on the Rob Has a Podcast network of podcasts. All right. We've got some great stuff. Bryce Isaiah went to South Africa to play in a USA Survivor versus Survivor South Africa Survivor game. He talked about it all, has a great, unforgettable story with Wendell about visiting the airport. Check out the latest episode of Bryce Isaiah's Purple Pants podcast. The Masked Singer, while we are talking about Survivor, the Masked Singer's latest episode was on. Catch up on episode 2 with Puya and Liana over in our Masked Singer wrap up. And then, Steven, Cliff Hogg did his sit-down interview with Taryn Armstrong. Finally. 3 hours of what was going on in Cliff's head during this past season of Big Brother. Check that out. Also, Tommy Bracco, best interview ever. Check that out as well. Taryn talked with Tommy Bracco, and then I will speak with Vince on Thursday. Be on the lookout for that. Very interested to hear what Vince has to say. And then Ron Clark will be my guest on Thursday. Get your questions in survivor@robertswebsite.com or send in your voicemails. And then Lirsa on the feedback show coming up this weekend. Very excited for that one. And then, the great Antonio Mazzaro is going to be on the RHAP B&B to talk about everything that's going on with Mike and Liana, plus why Vince lost. I'm sure that will be a very interesting one to listen to. Find out why David and Jessica think Vince ended up being the person to go home, and then the Wiggle Room as well. Really fun wand-off so far in the new season. Boston Rob has been a blessing for the Wandoff so far this season, Stephen. And then Will from America is going to join us for the This Week in Survivor with Jordan Kalish, all in the Wiggle Room this week. Of course, it's all made possible by the patrons of Rob Has a Podcast, and I've extended it through the night. Bless you, Stephen.
It's a blessing to the patrons.
Rob Has a Podcast Pop Socket is available for new patrons through tonight. That's it then. Then we've got that special offer will expire after tonight. RobIsAWebsite.com/patron, patron podcast feed. Join our patron community on Facebook as well. Very excited to catch up with a number of our patrons in New York City next week. RobIsAWebsite.com/patron. All right, Stephen, how do we do on time tonight?
Oh, it's perfect. And my parents are coming over to take me out to dinner. So, I got to like dress. I can't can't wear this.
Okay.
But I'm so excited to see you next week.
We're going to be together in New York City. So excited about that. Of course, check out Stephen Fishbach's blog. You can get it on Stephen Fishbach's Twitter at Stephen Fishbach. Stephen, who got the fishy tonight?
Well, Rob and Sandra.
Oh, Rob and Sandra. Literally Rob and Sandra. Boom.
Oh yeah, no, I was serious. Well, I really struggled with who to give the fishy to because Rob, it's like who was the person who was responsible for it? I kind of like walked through each person. Like Missy on the one hand, like we saw her kind of having this like decoy conversation with Vince, but like she wasn't really the one who drove the vote. Maybe Elizabeth, because she was the one who kind of pushed back on voting out Tom. Tom was really the first person that we saw to bring up Vince's name. Obviously Dean was the one who suggested they split the votes, which was the masterminded plan that ended up panning out. But so it's like who deserved it? I couldn't come up with a name. And then I thought to myself, what really happened here is Vince got too comfortable. So the people who were responsible for making him comfortable were Rob and Sandra.
Okay. There you go. All right. Very much looking forward to our live show next week. If you can't get out to the live show in New York City, but you can make it out to our show in Southern California, robiswebsite.com/Brea for tickets for our December 4th show. Thanks, everybody, so much for listening. Looking forward to the rest of the podcast this week. Thanks so much, Scott St. Pierre behind the scenes. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.